This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Alaina Szlachta. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic. And indeed, it is a beautiful afternoon here in Austin, Texas. We're finally getting to the most amazing weather of the year.
That's wonderful. Well, you can always take a drive to the Caribbean where it's always warm.
I recall from some of the research I did on you before our talk today that you did some travel to meet all of your podcast guests that you've had over the years. So I may have to take you up on the return offer to come meet you where you are.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not driving that much again in my life.
Yes, this country is quite large.
Yeah. Especially in comparison to Trinidad and Tobago. Well, again, it's such a great pleasure to connect with you. I am dying to know which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history.
A deep belief in relationships and cultivating relationships. And the beauty of, in some ways, the beauty of COVID-19 is that the world has gotten so much smaller, and the reaching across oceans to connect with people doesn't seem so strange because, well, everybody is doing Zoom and Skype and everything virtually. So it didn't seem weird to reach out to you and connect. So I think just the belief in relationships is one. And then I think just the desire to envision a much larger world where we can make a bigger impact collectively. And so to know you and to be a part of your journey and for you to be a part of mine is wonderful.
Yeah, so there's some depth there, right, in terms of how you're approaching life analytically. So, who did you learn that from, like being able to analyze the bigger picture as it would seem?
I have to credit my parents 100%. And they're two very different people. My mother is very philosophical, and so she looks at the big picture from a spiritual, psychological perspective. And then my father is an engineer, and so he looks at the world from a bigger picture of how do things work and how do we break things down from step 1 to step 10 to build something or to manifest something that didn't exist. So my parents are both wonderful humans, and they've shaped me very well.
What percentage of you goes towards the engineering side versus the philosophical side?
I have to say it's a direct 50-50 split. When I talk to my friends, I'll say, oh, yeah, that's my dad and me. And they'll say, no, but your mom is like that too. And so I really do feel that their talents that they've passed down to me through modeling and genetics are very, very well matched.
And what's one other thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years?
I have to say, being very purposeful with how I care for my body. The last 3 years have been focused on diet and meditation and yoga and workouts that are human growth hormone stimulating. So I do a lot of high intensity workouts, and I've been doing that consistently for 3 years. And I actually looked at myself, a picture of myself from exactly 10 years ago, and I don't feel like I look too much different. So maybe I'm doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. You're looking like an immortal, right? So who or what was the activator for that change?
My 82-year-old role model, I met him here in Austin, Texas when I moved here 6 years ago, and we both had flexible work schedules. And so I would do a lot of runs in the neighborhood, and so would he. And so we started working out together. He was at that time in his late 70s, and I was just about to turn 30. And so we started working out together, and now fast forward, it's been almost 5 years, and we consistently work out together 3 days a week during doing sprint workouts. And Dan is now 82 years old and is just the most phenomenal man and is 100% the person I want to be when I'm his age.
Wow, sounds like someone great to have a conversation with. So you're really living the life of expanding networks, and it's not just in the space of your age category, but you've gone quite literally twice your age, which is pretty intriguing. So what business do you bring to market with this type of 50-50 mix of engineering and philosophical? What comes to market from someone like you, Alaina?
I work with other entrepreneurs and people who have written books, and I help them take like their successes, their life stories, their greatest learnings for the things they've achieved in their lives. Whether they've written a book or not, they have something to share with the world, a way of doing things, a way of being, and they want to share that through learning. And so I will build masterminds, I will build online courses, in-person courses, resources, things that help other people benefit from the stories, the successes, failing forward of other entrepreneurs.
Wow, love that. So what's the best way for someone to connect with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, and my company name is By Design Development Solutions. And I do have a website where you can search me that way. But LinkedIn, I find LinkedIn is the best way to make connections with people these days. And I'm very open to doing that with others.
How does it make you feel, though, to look back over the last decade as you looked into that picture? How does it make you feel as an individual sitting here right now having this conversation to see what you've accomplished?
Honestly, I just feel so relieved that I found something that I can do with my life that I feel like can benefit others. It stimulates me personally. I'm not bored. I'm always challenged. I'm literally putting myself in a position where I can learn from others constantly. One of my clients is an acupuncturist, and we're working on menopause. One of my clients is in the financial sector, and I'm learning all about investing and building businesses. And so it's just I get paid to learn from others for a living. So like if I if I had known that 10 years ago, I would have started sooner, but I'm happy to be here now.
Well, amazing audience. Again, you're hearing it live from Alaina Szlachta, and she is an entrepreneur. She leads the folks at By Design Development Solutions, assisting you with. So it feels as though it's a combination, again, of the entrepreneurial and philosophical, where she's using the value you are bringing to the market, and then she's putting the engineering block in there in terms of creating the products that are required for the specific service you offer, which is really, really cool. So let's get to know more about her and ask her the next question, which is, let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Alaina, what's your earliest childhood memory?
So I lived in Michigan growing up for a few years, and my mom would ride her bike all the time. She was a very avid athlete. And I remember being in the back of her bicycle on one of those child seats that attaches above the rear tire of a bike. And I can remember like the wind on my face and this feeling like I was flying. And so now I still love being on a bicycle and that feeling of flying that you get in that experience.
Did you say what age you were?
Somewhere between 2 and 4 years old, based upon where I think we were living at the time.
Do you see a connection in that memory?
From a philosophical perspective, I think the love of freedom. I mean, if you imagine yourself flying, you're literally not attached to anything. Nothing's holding you back, nothing's pushing you or pulling you. You are literally just free moving throughout space. And I have a very, very deep connection to freedom. And everything I do and everything I've chosen for myself in my life is based upon this value of freedom. And maybe the two of those things are connected.
All right, all right. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Absolutely. I'd love to hear it.
You've gone the extra mile, pun intended, while riding to explore not just that experience of freedom for yourself, but it feels as though you've hopped on to other entrepreneurs' bicycles and you're in the back there And now you're able to help. Having someone on the back of you who is not just a child, but someone who can actually guide you, which feels as though it's the thing you bring to market, is what I see in the connection. And it's you doing it in a motherly fashion, right? Which has the warmth to it. Not that daddies aren't bad, right? But it just has that warmth to it. And it's a different type of leadership. So that's the connection I see in that.
Well, that's a very, very empowering perspective. And I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, most definitely. So if it was, let's say we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
The Cranberries song Zombie.
Sweet.
Definitely from the 90s.
Love it, love it. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Alaina?
Yes.
Alaina, are you married?
No.
All right. Do you have children?
Nope.
Do you believe in God?
Sometimes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Absolutely.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? More than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Absolutely more than 8, unfortunately.
All right. If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Alaina Szlachta, what would you say that is?
That the world is full of options, and it's up to us to use our creativity, our vision, our experience, our philosophy of the world to cipher through all the options that we have to make something of our lives and share something beautiful with the world.
And not become zombies, right?
Exactly.
Alaina, this was a great pleasure, one which I treasure. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
It's something so easy to forget, and it's something I'm constantly reminding myself is to find little ways to celebrate and to enjoy life.
Alaina, again, thank you so much for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.